Everyone. Trained as ACRES coaches. ACRES is the project I work on, after school coaching for reflective educators in STEM. And we are also partners with STEM Next and have everything moonshot on our radar as often as possible. So I'm excited to be here today. I really want this session to be what works for you all too. So I pulled together stuff, but mostly I have really big purposeful questions for us to think about and to play around with. We're going to talk about equity and engineering, right? That's what we're talking about, just making sure. I would love for someone to unmute and tell me, why did Terry and Brad and Clint decide equity and engineering should be in the same session? And it's only an hour, so we got a lot to cover. Why should equity and engineering be in the same session?
I think it's because of what our keynote speaker was talking about, just the disparities in any kind of STEM related field, and how that needs to be more of a priority, and we need to have a lot more intentionality in equaling that out.
So Erin, thank you. That's absolutely right. And then so wait, let me first ask Erin before you unmute. Did your keynote speaker share lots of slides on the inequities of STEM?
Yeah, she shared some, and then also our panel. I don't know if he was a panelist, but he's Mr. Kraus also shared some of that information too.
Great. Well, so then I won't spend lots of time on that piece of my presentation, and we'll just jump from there into why it matters. Does anyone else have a reason of why we do equity and engineering together? This is what we call wait time in ACRES. It's when I ask a question and I wait for someone else to answer it, so I, as the educator and the facilitator, am not doing all the work. Why else should we do equity and engineering together? I'll ask it again afterwards and we'll see what we get. I'm not letting you off the...
I was gonna say something, just maybe to bridge that gap. Again, it goes back to the disparities, and engineering is really a big part of our future, whether it's, with the technology and everything. So again, it's all related.
Is all related. We're going to come to that later. So first of all, I'm going to turn off my background just for 1 second so you can all see. As after school educators, you will totally understand and appreciate my world right now. This is my colleague's daughter, Maggie, and she is doing engineering activities as a 3-year-old all by her lonesome, while mom has a really got distracted. And for some reason, the informal educators, as we all know, can multitask. You can give a kid a engineering task and she goes nuts with it while presenting to the Missouri After School Network. So if there's banging and clanging in the background, you know that I'm just embracing the world that you all enjoy every single day. Okay, so I have a slideshow I'm going to start. Again, we're not going to spend a lot of time on the equity slides because you guys have just seen them, but I do want to set some context for one lens for framing equity. I'm guessing this is similar to what you all saw shortly, and I'm actually going to keep it in slideshow like manual mode, not presenter mode, because sometimes on Zoom I lose control of it, and we're just going to kind of pop in and out of this. So these are STEM statistics that I think are really important for us to have in mind. This is what the population of the US is. This is the population of those who have high-paying STEM jobs. And we also have this. And so my quick question for you is, what are other lenses for framing equity that we should be thinking about? What is another lens? Not just the data that I presented and the keynote speaker probably presented, but what is another lens or so that we should think about when we're framing equity as why we talk about engineering?
Maybe disabilities as well.
Could be disabilities. Excellent. At Acres, we really, we're a virtual coaching program. And so there's also the access to getting to places to receive professional learning, but the access of getting places. So sometimes rural educators are not able to physically get to as many professional learning opportunities or engineering opportunities. And the same thing with urban, sometimes they're not able to get out into different opportunities to have hands-on thinking. So I just want us to make sure when we're thinking about equity, that we think about it from the lens that makes sense to our audience and the lens that makes sense for progress. All right, I'm gonna go on back to my slide. And so why talk equity and engineering together? We've had a couple ideas, but it's this slide that I really want to showcase. Now I am going to put it in slideshow mode. You still will not be able to see all the little details of this. But I want us to talk about this. So over here are the in-demand skills. We have leadership as the number one, teamwork, written communications, problem solving, verbal communications. Whoa. Oh, see, this is why I don't like to be in presentation mode and everything, because I lose track of everything. So where did that go? Okay. So while I'm pulling that up, tell me what are the lenses for why do we want engineers in the world? Why do we want engineers in the world?
Our engineers build things, typically things that are useful for people. So it would be advantageous to have as many different ideas from the broadest audience to get all of the useful things we need.
What else do engineers do?
I think engineers solve problems. And usually I think of them as like structural or mechanical problems, but I know it's more than that.
You exactly hit on it. So engineers are problem solvers. Okay, so if we think about STEM, scientists are the ones who are asking questions and gathering data. They're building a base of knowledge. If we think about the T in a STEM, it's the technology, that's the tools, that's the things that help us do the work. And we're not just talking computers, a pencil is actually considered technology. The E is engineering. The engineers are the ones who are problem solving. They think about something, they propose a problem, they iterate on that, and they propose a new solution. So they are the problem solvers, and really important. When you get to the math, just as important, but they're the ones who are making predictions and calculations and seeing patterns. It is the engineers that are the problem solvers. And so we want as many problem solvers in the world as we can find. All right, so if we go back to the statistics, the slide beforehand, so we have all these skills over here, the leadership, the problem solving, the computer skills, the detail oriented, the creativity, and then the entrepreneur. This one is really important and it's so hard to see, and I'm sorry about that. The light blue is what new college, this is what employers think of their college graduates. Whereas the green one is what the college graduates thinks they're doing. So the first one, teamwork. The students, oh, I got that wrong. The students think they are rocking teamwork, 84%. But in reality, 37% of their employers actually think they are doing well in that. Staying current on technology. 47% of the students think they're rocking it. Only 37% of their bosses think they're rocking it. And as we go down, we see it actually much bigger of discrepancy. So this last one is being innovative and creative thinking. Students think when on their first job, they think they are doing 57% of it well, when in reality it is only 25. So what that shows is that we're actually creating kids who are confident, which is important, but they're not actually delivering on the skills that their employers need. They are not actually thinking like engineers. They are not thinking with an equity lens of how am I going to solve all of these problems and get a whole bunch of ideas to iterate on what we've done. So we have lots of work to do on getting kids to think that they are engineers, that they can think like an engineer. And that is different from getting people to go into engineering degrees or getting people to go into engineering careers. We need people to be thinking like an engineer and solving problems. All right. I am going to share a picture. I want you all, while I get the picture up, I want you all to find a scrap piece of paper and a pencil. Find a scrap piece of paper and a writing utensil. All right. I just did a quick Google search for Missouri images. And I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna scroll down to one that might have some people in it and something. Let's do this one. Top 15 related tourisms in the country. You all know that's way better than I. But I want you to think like an engineer, and on your paper, this picture right here, I want you to sketch something that makes it better. You're an engineer. You're looking at things to solve problems. You're looking at things to make things different. What could you design, anything at all, to make this scene better? Here's a hint, think like kids, not like adults. I can tell Beth's writing. Kay's got hers going. Chevelle, you're thinking, I can tell it. I want to see sketches of what you can make to make it better. You can do it, Terry. I know you can. Oh, okay, you're ready? All right, you're ready, you're ready. Okay. Terry, thank you for being ready. So I'm gonna actually hold up here. I had little Maggie, she drew a picture of it. I'm gonna interpret her picture related to that. I think there should be swings underneath the arch that would make it much more fun to be a tourist in your state. Kirby, you thought the same thing? You want swings? Oh, a bungee jump.
I went with the bungee.
You went with a bungee too?
The thing that gets pulled down and then you let go and it goes and goes and goes.
So what problem are you solving with the bungee jumping?
Fun.
Yeah. Aaron, put it right in front of you, right in front of your face. I know you got your cool background on. Put it right in front of your face. What do you got? Ooh. All right, just tell us.
All right. I turned the arch into a roller coaster.
Ah. What else do we got? I don't, anyone have anything about light pollution? Anyone have anything about, Chevelle, what do you got?
I added some platforms outside of the arch on the outside. So like I was trying to think about like people could actually see the moon and things like that. So maybe have platforms and have some telescopes out there. I'm not an artist, but
No, you are an engineer though. You are like an engineer, and that's what we need is people to think about creative solutions to problems that might not even be a problem. Large fans, Brenda, tell me more about the large fans.
Sorry, took me a minute to unmute. Just the last time, I don't live in Missouri, but the last time I was there, it was really hot and humid when I was at the arch. And so I thought I would add some large fans to keep it a little bit cooler for people visiting.
Great, I got different color lights to light it up. What problem would that be solving?
Visual appeal.
Cheryl, doesn't cut it for you?
Well, I thought maybe because it looks so dull looking, you know, sitting out there at night even, that maybe adding lights to it, different colors, like they do some of the buildings. You know, like in Kansas City, they have the one that turns different colors. You know, like something like that with the arch, they would attract the kids at night to say, oh, look at that, isn't that so cool?
Cheryl, if they did your idea, then we would request like a yellow light or a blue light for lights on after school. Because they
There
don't
you
do
go.
colors. So awesome.
Mary, tell me about your experience that has warranted that they need better elevators inside.
I think anybody who has ever ridden to the top of the arch can also attest to this. They're very small. So they're great if you're a tiny person, but I even told my husband he's 6'3", he's too big, he can never go up in the arch. So it's really uncomfortable. So I don't know if it's less seats or yeah, and it's a very like, as Cheryl was kind of motioning, like not a smooth ride. Yeah, weird shifting. And some of that is it's just like the way it's shaped. So making it smoother, updating the pods, the contraptions, better, even just like better seats. It's been a couple of years, but just making it a more improved process.
So what I love right now is you're all thinking about engineers and you're all entering from your own prior experience and your perception and suggesting and generating ideas, solutions, but more importantly, you're generating conversation and listening to what other people need and really thinking about how the future could be better, right? So how the future could be better can be fun, but it can also be real, like digging into what the problems are, i.e. those pods in there are small and it's an awkward trip. So there must be a way to get it better, but I would imagine, I have no idea. When was it built? When was the arch built?
I think it was completed in 1964.
And what problem was it solving when it was built?
Boring waterfront. I think it was more of a commemorative was the idea. It was a commemorative thing. So it wasn't really solving a problem except for how to commemorate the Louisiana Purchase.
Well, but so there was something they wanted to get recognition for the Louisiana Purchase. I have no idea, right? But you were also saying they wanted to change the waterfront. Why would they want to change the waterfront? Because it was boring. Why does a boring waterfront matter? Because you're not getting enough tourists there. And so you had to do something that was eye-catching and inspiring and different to get people to be a tourist to the area. That wow factor is real, right? So you want to defy what had happened beforehand, right? It's the first thing that had ever been like a complete arch Is that true? Yeah, right. Thank you, Donna. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint just for a second, and I want us to talk about what is next on there. Okay, so the engineering design process. Show of hands, how many of you are familiar with this? You put your fingers up, reactions, and chat in there. In ACRES, we had to do 8 different modules. One of the modules, one of our skills is the engineering design process. And we have adapted the engineering is elementary, which is a great resource to talk about the engineering design process. There's also lots of resources, which we're going to get into in a minute, on all the moonshot pages that you could use. So let's talk about this before. I'm going to guess that many of you have seen it or a version of it, but I would like for you to all think about it really strong in your head for a moment, and then I'm going to come back out. Where does the engineering design process fit in your life, in your personal life? I'll share it again. Where does the engineering design process fit into your personal life?
He wants to answer in the chat.
No, I want you to call it out, Donna. Let's go.
I always tell my students it fits everywhere. Maybe that's the math nerd in me, but every day I have to discern or make a decision or solve a problem. And so I have to think of the brainstorming kind of piece or consider the problem, think of some solutions, consider which one works best. Sometimes I try one, it doesn't work. I go back, I try again until, I've solved the problem.
So yes, it's everywhere. Does anyone have a bathroom dilemma that they've applied the engineering design, and not like your bathroom structures, your toilet, your showers kind of thing?
We just took, and I had to come up with the plans to do it. Otherwise my husband wouldn't have done it. We just built an addition onto our house. So I had to figure out how big I wanted the bathroom and how big I wanted the walk-in closet. And then I had to actually trace out how I wanted the closet built and how many shelves I wanted, all of that stuff. So I had to I'm not a good artist, but I had to kind of sketch an idea out of what I wanted and where I wanted the cabinets done.
You are a good engineer, though. Let's think positively instead of dismissing ourselves and being like, I'm not a good artist. You just proved you're a good engineer. And that is the piece we want everyone to think and realize. They are good engineers. Who's got a kitchen or let's do a kitchen dilemma that you solved or thought about through an engineering mindset?
How about this? My pipes burst on Christmas. And so it was, you could see the ceiling buckling, and just turning off the water didn't work. So we had to get a drill, and we drilled holes in the ceiling in my kitchen, and it was raining in my kitchen in several different places, but that helped alleviate my ceiling from buckling and crashing in.
Awesome job thinking like an engineer and creative problem solving. How about a yard? Who's got an issue in the yard?
I had an outdoor garden for the first time last summer and had to try to figure out how to keep that thing alive through the hot months of summer when we had no rain and bugs were attacking my zucchini plants, trying to destroy them. My tomatoes were suffering.
So what did you do to solve your problem?
Well, I tried a couple different chemicals to try to get rid of these bugs. I tried manually removing them. I took 3 different approaches trying to get rid of them. In the end, I ended up losing that battle. I was not successful on that. My tomatoes, they took forever, and I did a lot of research on how much water they should need, and then I started kind of paying very close attention to the amount of water and specifically where on the plant it was watered, and it finally turned around at the end of the season.
So you were thinking like an engineer. So how often do you all in your programs compliment kids when they are being engineers? How often do you say you are thinking like an engineer? I appreciate your engineering mindset.
I do STEM at school, but we do a lot of engineering projects. Like right now, we're doing a hydraulic claw with hydraulics, with like syringes and a hose to make the hydraulic system. And the kids, after the first attempt, I had several students had theirs working, and I complimented them on how their design was and how they paid attention to the instructions and how they built their claw to go on and do their own design next. So I do it just about every day because we do a lot of things in STEM.
So Cheryl, love it. Can't wait to hear more about the claw. What is the response of youth when you say, wow, you are thinking like an engineer?
They really, really like it. I mean, they get all excited and like, okay, can I build my own now? And it's like, yes, you've learned this process. Now you can go ahead and do the next process, and we'll walk through that when you get it completed. We'll figure out what's wrong and what's right, and then you can make the adjustments. And they love it because they get to make their own adjustments, they get to use their own imaginations, and they get to make their own designs. And they really love it. I mean, they're just really excited about everything that we've been doing. So it's encouraging because you're on the right path to these kids, and they're enjoying what they're doing, and they want to do more.
After school educators like yourselves have more influence on a youth's career choice than their formal classroom teachers in high school? After school educators have more influence than a high school biology teacher or a high school guidance counselor teacher on kids' career choices. Because by the time you get to high school, most of them have already chosen their courses, are already on a path. They might have limited opportunities for internships, but in the after-school world, you all are making more of a difference in careers. So I encourage all of you to encourage people to be creative problem solvers and engineers. But if we bring it back to the equity piece, we have so many opportunities to talk about equity, social justice within engineering projects. So we do a water filter activity in acres, and it allows everyone to play just for a moment on how to build a water filter and how to redo it. We work with we have a Click to Science video that we've shown too, that how do you iterate it, how do you change your ideas, all those engineering things. What happens when we change it from just a fun engineering task and add a different equity lens? There are people that do not have clean water in our country. How are you going to help them clean their water? Feels slightly different. Has any of you done engineering projects that relate to equity?
I'm just gonna jump out there because you said the water filters. I did a book, so novel engineering, with my class last year, my day class, and we read the book, and then they had to brainstorm like all the different things that they could possibly, what problems could you solve from this book? And so a lot of them did say, hey, we can create water filters to clean the water in our river here, because the book was about the ocean and coral reefs and things like that, but they related it to to the Mississippi River here. And some of them did actually create some water filters. And I mean, they had all kinds of different things of how they could impact their own neighborhoods or their community.
Anyone else have a story they want to share?
I was trying to think if this is similar, but I taught a Tinkercad section for an Introduction to Engineering course, and we live in mid-Missouri. 1993, we had a couple of major floods that flooded Kansas, Missouri, and Mississippi rivers, but we read a lot of articles about Louisiana and the floods and just different areas of the world that were flooding. And then we tried to design flood solutions and look at some solutions that were already developed and why they were important, and then how we could make suggestions to our local city planners that would help to kind of keep that from happening again. So that was interesting.
So I encourage you all, and I've been in Missouri and I've talked with your network leaders, and I've seen and coached some people from Missouri after school programs, and I know you all are doing this, but I really encourage you to take everything you do from just a STEM activity where everyone starts in the same place and ends in the same place, and really push it so that people can explore their engineering mindset and they can explore the lens for how it relates to equity. Sometimes I think we get caught up on the lesson plans and the activities, and instead of the purpose of why are we doing this and what can we gain from having an activity that is an engineering focused and an equity focused. I'm putting in the chat right now a document, but so hopefully you can get there, but I want to also pull up my screen. And there are 10 critical features of high quality engineering experience that help students develop and strengthen a mindset. This comes from your Million Girl Moonshot resources. This is the document. Hopefully you're able to access it. Is that true? Are you all able to access it?
I'll look for the link and get it dropped in there, but yes, we should be able to.
Okay, so why don't you just talk for a second, popcorn it out. What do you think the 10 features of a good engineering program are? Put it out there and I will get the document. I'll download it separately and upload it so you can all have it. Come on. What are the 10 features? Oh, thanks, Terry. We'll go with that one, much easier. All right. You're all not very talkative today, so I'll go for that. Children consider problems in context. If we are just doing an activity and not giving them the context, we miss the opportunity to develop an engineering mindset. And they use specific problem-solving processes. They investigate the properties and the materials. They consider constraints and criteria that require trade-off. How do your students do with the trade-offs? It's really hard for adults. What's the strategy that gets kids realizing that they can't have everything exactly their way, that they need to listen to other people and have trade-offs?
can you repeat that question again?
Sure. How do youth in your programs deal when they have to deal with trade-offs? Not everyone gets their own way, or they have to think about it from another perspective. Or maybe they realize that there are different ways to solve things. How do they deal with trade-offs?
I have my kids work in groups, like the hydraulic claw. They each they get a worksheet before they do a project where they have to do some research on it. Like the hydraulic claw, they had to see exactly how hydraulics worked and all of that. And they work in groups and teams, and they have to choose which way they want to build it. So they have to come together and brainstorm an idea and put it down on paper that both of them agree to, and they both build the thing at the same time, the project at the same time. So they both have a part in it. So I try to teach them to work in teams and to come up with ideas in teams, and then write that all out too, so that there's no conflict in what they're doing. And they do pretty good. They have their own, way of working it out together. So that's what we do in my classes on pretty much every project that we do. They work in groups.
I love, Richard, you added it that some get really angry and others
Yeah.
try new ways. Do you want to add to that at all? You're muted now. I think you unmuted earlier. Try again.
There we go. I have some kids that get angry when they're informed that it's not just like when they're informed, but when they see whatever they are trying just does not work and they don't want to change their mindset.
Yeah.
And then I have others that have actually not succeeded in the way they wanted and will try to change it up. I've had some actually seek guidance. It's like, what can I do with other students? And then I have other students that will come by and try to help out.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I think it depends on their own experience with, for lack of a better word, failure, learning how to manage that and deal with that so that they learn from when things don't work. So if they've experienced that before, to me, it seems like they're okay, with everything that Richard just said, asking questions, looking at, they can adjust. But then there are some students, I hear the word fair a lot. It's not fair. I'm making these tetrahedral kites right now. It's not fair that they get the red tissue paper, or, this person gets this. So the whole idea of you can create it the way you want for some students is actually seems to be more stressful than other students. Like they've asked me, just give us all the directions. And I don't do that. I give them guidance up to a point and say, now it's up to you. Create the car the way you want it, choose the wheels, whatever I say. And so that seems to cause some stress and even frustration, and like Richard said, even anger, that somehow I'm not being fair with all the students. So I kind of take it as it's something I have to work through with them over time. But again, just in a general sense, I think it depends on the group of students you're working with, how they respond.
This is the hard moment of being an after-school educator. We do an activity when the kids are doing it on their own, they're iterating, they're designing, they're creative solving, that moves along. But it's the tension, and when they're talking about fair, when they're talking about getting their own way and not listening, that is really the hard part of it. And just like after-school educators are the ones who are really influencing youth's career choices, it is also after-school educators who are giving youth the opportunity and the space to talk about equity and to talk about historic perspectives. And so I would really encourage everyone, when those moments when people are talking about fair, and those moments when they really want their idea to go through, is that there is opportunities there to have those bigger conversations and those bigger listening sessions to really understand where kids are coming from and how you might make them engineers when it comes to all kinds of problems, and how you listen to it and how you problem solve and how you iterate ideas. It's the same process, but a lot of times, not in after school, but a lot of times we are avoiding those conversations. And I really would encourage you all to think about them because there's so many parallels between them. We have about 15 minutes left. Is that correct? I believe. So I want to make space for what you need. We can talk about engineering activities. We can talk about, we can do more creative problem solving, and I can pull up more pictures and you can think like engineers. We can share more stories, Q&A, whatever you want. I want to make sure that this last 15 minutes works for those that are here and that are engaged. And if there's something you want me to talk about, I can. This is wait time. If you don't have anything, then I will prompt you with other things, but so why did you come to this session today? There's 27 of you here. Why did you come today? I don't have that good of a reputation as a presenter. I know that. Sometimes I can be funny, but most of the time it's my virtual hugs that everyone loves, but why did you come today? Let's make sure you came for the reasons.
Well, I'll just start off.
Love it.
I didn't really have a specific, I didn't have a specific goal in mind in coming, but I always feel, I love STEM, so it had STEM in the title, and I always feel like I can learn something. And so even though I didn't know what I was coming for specifically, I knew it, I feel like I'm always engaged or challenged or where I have to kind of think about my own mindset as a teacher. And so I guess that's why I'm here.
Great, Donna, I'm going to give you one little nugget, and that I hope you might already do it, but it's been transformative for other people.
Mm-hmm.
We should always start with what is the purpose of our lesson and what is the purpose of our questions, and go from there. Because sometimes when we plan our lessons, we plan our materials, we plan our grouping, but we don't actually come back to why am I doing this lesson? And what questions should I be asking so that we stay focused on the lesson? So Cheryl, why are you doing the lesson that you shared earlier?
Well, I know that we have robotics in our after-school program too. And I like to always encourage the kids to, build something. I just don't want to give them like something to do because it's an after-school program. I want them to learn. I want them to be creative. I want them to know why they're doing it. That's why we do the research that we do before we do anything. We've done wind turbines research, and they built their own wind turbine. And then I showed them how to produce electricity, and they were just so excited about it and they wanted to do more. And I just feel like the more we encourage our kids to build things and teach them that they have the knowledge to do this and why they're doing it, then they'll keep on doing it, and in robotics, there's a lot of computer work that they can do, and they love computers. So it's just encouraging to keep the kids interested in what they're doing, not just throw something at them and say, okay, this is what we're doing for the night, and then we're done with it. I always have them talk about what they did too when we're done with the project. Okay, why did yours work? Why didn't yours work? What can we do to make it better? That kind of thing with them. So, I just love kids and I want them to know more is what I want them to do. I want them to learn more, to do more, to know that they don't have to just stick with what they know. they can learn more and go further than what they think they can. And that's what I've always done with the kids. Even when I worked for AmeriCorps, I always told the kids they can do much more than what they're doing. You know, I just love kids and I want to see them advance is what I want to do.
So love that. And basically you are coming back to this. You want kids who go into a workforce prepared to do all the things that their employers want of them to do. Teamwork, thinking, communicating, written communications, right? So your goal can be to create thinkers. Your goal can be to create good citizens. Your goal can be to nurture future engineers. Your goal can also be to create people who think about the big problems of our world through an engineering mindset, right? But we need to really be specific on why are we doing things, and always bring our questions back to that so that we really are pushing people to be, just like you were saying, the critical thinkers, the learners, because those will ultimately be the ones that are solving problems. We want kids to be able to solve problems and to think about things from a different lens. So Donna, you were great and shared why you came. Who else wanted to come to this session? Wants to share? Richard, why did you come to this session?
Because I always like to try to steal new ideas and then adapt them to what I can bring to my program.
All right, I'm pulling up something so that you can get lots of new ideas, because I don't want anyone to leave empty-handed. I'll share it right here. Have you all heard of How to Smile? Oh my gosh, it is like the Pinterest of STEM vetted lesson plans. So let's do what do we had? We had bridge. We'll just do bridges. So oh no, we'll do rivers. One of you mentioned rivers, cleaning rivers. So you enter it in here, rivers, and you search your activities. And you can make any of these, search your activities. I can then search by, well, everyone in after school, instead of the 41 activities that are really hard and cumbersome to go through. I'm going to assume you guys don't have a lot of budget. So I'm going to go cheap. 6 to 8 is fun. There's never enough time. We are now down to 3 lesson plans. And you can add it if you're registered here, Richard. If you wanted to go in and grab some ideas, you could add it to your Pinterest page or your How to Smile page. But you can go to the details, go to the activity, and then this will give you a whole lesson on how this happens to be an engineering lesson that you can do. Some of them have great questions. Some of them you may actually want to switch the questions and have them align with your goal. So Cheryl, it could be you really want them to be learning. So you might, instead of saying how many kinds of bridges are there, you might say, what can we research about the bridges in our area and how are they similar and different, right? So these lessons are fabulous, but I really encourage you to switch your questions to be aligned with your goals. So again, this is How to Smile. Let me put the link here so that those of you who came wanting very specific group of ideas and lesson plans, you can walk away with those too. How to Smile, I'll copy it and I will put it in the chat. Oh, Beth, you're on it. Love that. Thank you. I love having acres coaches in the crew because then they all of a sudden pop in all the resources for me. Okay, what else do you need? What else do you want to hear from? What else questions?
I could use $1 million.
Me too.
Oh, okay.
Me too. There is actually, Richard, I've been watching these reels. Somebody keeps like posting all these like how to get rich quick and they like walk you through them. There's a couple out there that are actually pretty interesting of like you go in and copy it. So they say you can win $1 million that way. I have yet to try, but when I do, I'll let you all know. What else do you need for your equity and engineering? You guys have conferences all day, right? I'm just one of many sessions, right? Okay, so Acres has 8 skills. We do engineering process, we do voice and choice, we do asking purposeful questions. Clint is an Acres coach, Kay is an Acres coach, Beth is an Acres coach. I know Tyler has done Acres before, Lena is an Acres coach. We are fully invested in Missouri. We are here virtually to support you all in Missouri, doing engineering, doing equity, and to doing really reflecting on practice. When you reflect on practice, you think about, oh, I'm here, I'm asking questions like this. I'm thinking about my work here, and then how can I do more? Just a little bit more, so we're changing practice. So there are lots of opportunities for you now and for the next several years for you guys to think about how you can change the questions you're asking, how you can change the activities you're offering so that they really are hitting the purpose, whether that is to encourage people to think like an engineer or to tackle equity issues. There's so many good things going on in Missouri. I just want to highlight that you guys are an incredible network doing some amazing programming within the national reputation. So you should give yourself some huge kudos as to what you are doing. But know that we are fully here to invest in your professional development, whatever you all might need over the time. Terry, anything you want to add or tell me I missed?
I think you covered it all. Thank you for presenting for us. I think for me, as I was thinking about like what engineering and equity and that intersection, I think that this is one of those topics that I am glad we put on the agenda each year at the STEM Symposium, because my understanding has evolved over time. And in our very first one, we had a separate equity and inclusion framework from the engineering workshop. And this year, the coming together of the two, I think is really good, because it is through the engineering practices that we are implementing that equity framework. So I appreciate you being here, and you've done other sessions at other symposiums over the year, and it's a journey for us all. And I think that we're another step closer to integrating those two concepts together. So thank you for being here. Kay has put the session survey in the chat box, and we're about to have our lunch break. So our next session will start up at 12:45. Our website on campus seems to be having some issues. So you should have received the direct workshop link, I believe from Erin, in an email to all of the registered participants, or we are also, I just dropped it in the chat box also, so you might want to grab it in this session just in case the Mason website is acting funny at 12:45 when you go to get into the next session. So if on this session you came in a little bit later, if you need clock hour training, please enter your MoPD ID here in the chat box, and we'll link that up with the session attendance information. And hopefully in the next session, if you enter it on your way in on that registration page, you don't need to enter it again in the chat box. So thank you, Perrin, for talking with us today and sharing your expertise. And I hope your coworker has enjoyed her construction.
She's disappeared. She's gone on to the other world. I will leave you all with this as you do think about equity and engineering. We all should be asking, what are the problems that need to be solved? And there are many. What have others done? Imagining a different future, just with the arch and the bungee cords and the new elevators. We need those creative problem solvings. We need time to plan. We need time to create. And more specifically, we need time to improve. It keeps going, right? So if we think about all the problems that need to be solved and an engineering mindset and getting kids to think critically and confident, but actually having skills, it just keeps going. And it's really exciting to see it come together and to see what the future could hold. So I'll leave it with that. Thank you, everyone.